Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Tuesday, October the 16th, and welcome to our video commentary. Well, I'm sure you've heard about the latest March of Migrants. This is a group of people who are walking to the United States. I believe they started in Honduras and they plan to walk all through Central America, through Mexico primarily, to the United States, to the U.S.-Mexico border. Now, we don't know where they are in their trajectory at the moment. I believe they're still south of Mexico, but I think President Trump's response so far was pretty correct, and that is to say, no, we're not going to accept these marches, and even threatening Honduras with cutting off their foreign aid. But there's a couple of other issues here that I think need to be considered. The first one is, what role will Mexico play? My guess, knowing Mexico and their attitudes towards Central Americans over the years, I don't think Mexico wants to become a pathway to the United States, or at least a pathway for Central Americans to the United States. I mean, they have in the past encouraged Mexicans to go to the United States, but that's a little different. That's their own people. But in this particular case, we're talking about citizens from other countries walking through Mexico to the United States. I just don't believe that Mexico wants that. And my guess is that the Mexican authorities will shut it down as soon as they get into Mexican territory. I think they did it the last time, by the way, when there was another march like this. There is another issue that we need to consider as people living in the United States, and that is the levels of violence in these countries have reached really points that are just beyond toleration. Some of these countries are some of the most dangerous places in the world. And if you have young people, young men in particular, you do all you can to keep them from joining these gangs and going into criminal activity, because very often that is really the only option they have, or a more profitable option for a young man. So it's a terrible situation in many of these countries, and we should be looking at how we can help them deal with the problem. Sending people to the United States is not the ultimate answer. We can certainly treat asylum cases and all of that. I'm all for that. But just sending people to the United States is not the answer. And I think we need to sit down with some of these governments and see what we can do as the United States. What can happen as the region? What can the region do to cut down on some of the violence, which is completely making these countries impossible to live in, particularly on the countryside. The cities are bad, but the countryside is absolutely horrible. So let's think about that. Let's see what we can do to maybe curtail or help bring down some of the violence in some of those Central American countries. Well, thank you for watching. We have all of these on YouTube, we have them on Twitter, and we have them on my blog. And if October 15th is your birthday, happy birthday. Bye-bye, everybody.